Japanese crossover SUVs are very reliable. The South Korean crossover SUVs from Hyundai and Kia are best value for money. And the German crossover SUVs, well, quality as it were, they have the best quality and the best safety ratings. However, when it comes to French crossover SUVs like the Citroen C3 Aircross right next to me, and then other models which are from the PSA group, I have a feeling they're kind of new to the business. They just started recently, like in the mid-2010s. However, it's true they did have some other crossover models. Like, I vividly remember that Citroen and Peugeot actually had a crossover SUV which was a rebadged Mitsubishi Outlander. And I don't remember the name of those models. That's really funny, guys. I actually don't remember their names. But one thing I vividly remember is they achieved very little fame. They were not very popular here in the Belgian market, in the EU market. But then that's why Citroen axed it away. They ditched it. They started coming up with their own models. And this is the latest of their own models. Guys, I say this all the time. I am a Citroen enthusiast. I love Citroen cars, especially those that come from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even the 2000s. You know, and also I really like recent models. Like, I'm a big fan of the Citroen Cactus. Whatever happened to it, they kind of ditched it away. But they have the Citroen C3, which I was also a big fan of. Now they have the Citroen C3 Aircross. That looks amazing. Guys, I already can tell by the aesthetics, the design of the exterior, like at the front and rear, it looks very interesting. Citroen cars also have a history of being surprisingly very, very practical. Like, I mean it, guys. When you look at the car from outside, you will think to yourself, okay, yeah, it's going to be really tiny in there, or it's going to be very busy. But then as soon as you're in the interior, you're like, oh my goodness, this is so spacious, more spacious than I had imagined. Like, I'm being serious, guys. I used to be obsessed with the Citroen C4 Picasso, the Grand Picasso, actually. And I still am obsessed with it. I love the car a lot. The space, the minivan, basically. It's an NPV done by Citroen. They still do it. But it was very spacious. As soon as I sat inside, it was so spacious. It was just endless storage solutions everywhere. And I've also noticed a similar thing with the Citroen Berlingo, which is also known as the Peugeot Rifter, and also there are other PSA Group models. This Citroen C3 costs 23,000 euros. Is this good value for money or not? You know what? Let's get on with this review right now. So this is the exterior design of the Citroen C3 Aircross, everyone. And I have to confess, I absolutely am stunned. This is the facelift version, and I absolutely love it, guys. Really, this is special, and it's intriguing also. The design is also very good. I'm impressed with this particular one. I like how you get this shiny bit of chrome right here, and it's like, it pairs very well with the badge. It's actually connected with the badge, and this chrome, well, the top level goes all the way towards over the lighting, and the bottom one goes all the way here, and then it stops suddenly. I like how there's a lining onto it. Reminds me of the cars from the 1970s, because they would always have endless chrome everywhere, and on the chrome you get this sort of decoration on top. Now, this particular, well, what looks like an imitation of a grille looks interesting. I like it, the way it's styled. Very nice. And then also you get an actual grille down there, and another bit of a grille here. Isolated all the way down there, you get the lighting. I'm assuming that's supposed to be your fog lights. I have to confess, the color is intriguing. I am absolutely stunned, guys. Just look at this color. Look at it. It's fabulous. You know, this particular color reminds me of Citroen cars from the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, because there was a time they used to offer these sort of colors on the Citroen 2 Chevaux in particular. It's interesting. It's very interesting how Citroen has kind of employed it again, and it's very good. It's intriguing. Like, when I first saw this color, the first thing that popped in my mind was the Citroen 2 Chevaux from that era, from the 60s or so. They had this kind of color, especially with the wheel. The wheel was also in this color. A prominent sign of identity lies within those lights. You get 3 lighting over here, and kind of like 3 squares of lighting over there. It's very interesting they have it. In fact, this is not the first time Citroen has done it. In fact, in the 1970s, when you had the Citroen SM, oh yes, the wonderful Citroen car I'm obsessed with. I'm actually a fan of the Citroen SM. This is the side view of the Citroen C3 Aircross, and I have to say I am absolutely amazed. I love it. It looks interesting. It's more round-edged. A recurring thing I've noticed about the Citroen C3 Aircross is that, well, first of all, I have to let you all know that this is related to the Peugeot. I'm not sure which model. I think it's the model 2008. Yes, it has to be the model 2008. The thing about Citroen and Peugeot is that Citroen has gone more round-edged and more funky, I'd say. Whereas Peugeot has gone all sharp-edged and everything, and more action style and everything. More quality, sort of quality-oriented, let's say. So that's why on the case of the Citroen C3 Aircross, it's just endless round edges everywhere. Over here onto the bonnet. In fact, the bonnet is very round edged, that there's not a single straight line on it, guys. This has to be a rare occasion I see this, and it's good. It pairs very well, actually. You get the presence of the hard plastic right here. As I've said, everyone, it saves you a lot of money in long terms because it prevents the dust and dirt from making contact with the bodyworks, especially the mud. And it's very good. Aesthetically, it looks quite appealing. It's good. It gives it a cross-country theme. Although the Citroen C3 Aircross does not come with a four-wheel drive transmission, but Citroen does have a reputation in the Dakar Rally. So if you want to go cross-countrying, you might as well do so in this wonderful Citroen C3 Aircross. Presence of the hard plastic is also on the rear, on the maximum. It looks very much alike the Citroen C3 hatchback, the B-segment Citroen C3. Very interesting, similar design actually. So yes, it's not bad at all. In my opinion, it looks quite stylish how Citroen has done it. Look at it. I like how this has got a lighter tone, and over here is a dark tone gray plastic. Quite good, actually, very good. And also those signature rear lights. Those have become a very Citroen thing nowadays. Like I'm seeing this sort of design on almost every Citroen model. Another thing worth mentioning is that you've got this black trim right here. So here's the body paint, and you get this black trim right here between the lighting and the body paint. I actually don't know why Citroen does this, but whatever the intentions are, it looks fabulous. It pairs very well with the theme of this Citroen C3 Aircross, and I personally like it. I think it's quite good. It looks aesthetically appealing. Like from a distance at the rear, yes, looks quite nice. Worth mentioning that the rear design of the Citroen C3 Aircross has some strong identity. It kind of reminds me of a hatchback Citroen once did in the 1980s or in the 1990s. Whilst exploring the exterior of this Citroen C3 Aircross, I was amazed. I was very much intrigued. But I have to also confess I did see some questionable aspects. The first questionable aspect I would like to talk about are the grills at the front of this Citroen C3 Aircross. First of all, you get this grill right here that has no air intake whatsoever. I don't know what is its purpose even. I mean, the only purpose it seems to have is the aesthetics. Like from a distance, it looks quite good. It gives it this angry look, very, very decent. But when I see the design, it's just, yeah, like, you know, it would have been more interesting if there was some air intake, you know. And same story over here. You get what looks like air intake here between the two chrome lines, but for some reason there is no air intake whatsoever. So and then obviously on the grille right here, everyone, there's air intake here and also on the other side, but in the middle for some reason there's no air intake. Okay, this is in my opinion, I find this a bit questionable because you know, it's supposed to be aerodynamic. There has to be some more air intake. Otherwise, if this is not going to be an air intake, then you might as well just make it more, you know, just like round edged over here, blend it with the design so that there's more airflow over the bonnet. Recurring flaw I've noticed is another questionable aspect I've noticed about the Citroen C3 Aircross
is that the rear design is quite nice. It's, I mean, Citroen has been generous enough to give this car at a price of 23,000 euros, which is very, very good. But I just find the presence of the hard plastic over here to be a little bit too much. But that's just my opinion, you know, that's just my thought. I think the hard plastic is a little bit too much, but yes, I mean, in long terms, it does hold up. It does protect the bodyworks from mud and dust. Another questionable aspect I've noticed is the presence of this mud flap right here. It's a bit questionable in my opinion because it looks as though it has been added as an afterthought, although it does have a purpose, and that is it prevents mud from splashing all over on this side of this Citroen C3 Aircross. And by the way, this flap is also on the other side. But it would have been more interesting if the entire design right here was more elevated, like this side, you know, it would have been more interesting. Otherwise, just to have a flap here looks as though it was an afterthought. For a crossover SUV of this size, the reverse light is all the way there. It's a bit questionable in my opinion because in average, most crossover SUVs in the segment would have reverse lights over here on this level. But in the case of the Citroen C3, they have it all the way down there, and I don't know what is the philosophy of this design or what is the purpose. But I can only imagine the design was for aesthetic reasons because they wanted to keep the rear lights a bit more simple. They wanted to simplify everything. Otherwise, they didn't want to make it too busy and such. So this is the interior of the Citroen C3 Aircross, everyone. Already I can tell it looks quite stylish, very appealing indeed. And oh, you guys actually get heated front seats. Now that is very good. I like it, and it wouldn't even have levels. And you guys get manual seating adjustment. But this is quite expected for a price of 23,000 euros. This is the interior of the Citroen C3 Aircross, everyone, and it looks very interesting. Oh, look at it, guys. The oval shape, no, it's not oval. It's, yeah, like sort of ovalish, rectangular shape everywhere. Like over here. All over in the middle, over here, this little storage space, and then also over here on the door side. Wow, it's just endless, and even on the steering wheel, it's quite interesting. I like it. I also like how you get this fabric trim right here, guys. I mean, look at it. Looks quite interesting how Citroen puts it right there. And then obviously you get the hard plastic over here. Okay, hard plastic over here, and then you get another bit of fabric right here, quite cozy. And here's your mirror control, your window buttons, and a little pocket here that doubles as a door handle, so when you have to pull the door closed, you know just the place to pull it from. And over here, I like how you get this bit of chrome as a trim. Over here, you get a little storage space, and also a storage space right there, over there, and over here as well. And in the storage space area, you get also a 12-volt socket and a USB point right there. Armrest is foldable, so if you need it for extra comfort, have it down. If you don't need it, have it up. Usually you'd pull up this armrest to have access to the storage space down there. Yes, it's not a center storage console, but they do have a storage area over there. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's quite deep. It's okay. It's as good as it has to be. No 12-volt socket, no USB point in there whatsoever, but, well, I guess its design has its own philosophy. And over here you get two cup holders of fixed sizes. Okay, interesting. And this is your handbrake. Now this handbrake looks interesting, although it's not Citroen is not the first one to have this sort of fancy design for a handbrake, but yeah, it looks like number 7. Interesting. I've noticed this stock very often on PSA group cars, especially Peugeot and Citroen. They've been having this particular stock for quite a long time. So, you know, it's very interesting. It's quite legendary. They still put it. I like it. I really do. It's so cool. And it's actually quite practical. So, like, when driving, just control the media from here. Well, no, wait. It's not for media. It's for your cruise control. Yes. Okay, yes, it's for your cruise control. My bad, guys. And then over here you have your media controls, and you have, well, additional media controls. Over here you get your basic climate control. Otherwise, I'm very much assuming further climate control is all in the infotainment system, like every other PSA group car. Over here you get your central lock button. Very nice. Now, okay, speaking of everything on the infotainment system, lately the PSA group have been putting basically, like, majority of their controls in the infotainment system. So you can only control the air conditioning or certain aspects only when the car is in action, like when the infotainment system is on. So yeah, that's it's good in terms of simplicity. They kind of made the interior less busy. Did you feel that the absence of the center console would be so heartbreaking? Well, nope. No need to feel that. No need to feel that anymore, guys, because over here you get a huge glove box. And when I say huge, I mean huge, guys. It's so deep, guys. Wow. Great compensation when there's no central console storage. And you get this micro storage space right here, guys. And I like how there's some buttons or some dots in there. I mean, look at this design right here. Yes, the favorite part of the interior, guys. I mean, look at it. You get the lightings over here, and you guys get a mirror to see how pretty you look. However, you get what looks like a... Oh, okay, that's very interesting, guys. So this is, I'm assuming, to put a photo or a parking ticket or some card. This is the very, very first time I've ever seen this in any car. Like, usually most car brands would have a little strap right here to stick photos or cards or something. But in this Citroen C3 Aircross, I'm not sure this is the first car ever, but I mean, this is interesting. They have a little thing for your card here. It's very good nonetheless. I like it. Over here is the latch to pull the hood open, and I really do like it how it's right here. You have the plastic that surrounds it, so there's no way you will pull it open by accident with your feet. This is the door bin of the Citroen C3 Aircross, everyone, and I have to say it's actually quite practical as it has to be. I'm not sure if it can fit a big water bottle, but I'm sure it can fit a small water bottle, and its storage space is as good as it has to be. It's pretty average for its own segment. Oh, I like how you get this leather design right here. I only noticed it now. Wow. Okay, guys, look at those air vents. I mean, this is so interesting. I like it. This has to be the first time I see those kind of air vents. It looks quite nice. Whilst exploring the interior of this Citroen C3 Aircross, I did notice some recurring flaws. And the most prominent flaw I've noticed in the interior of this C3 Aircross is that the practicality solutions, the storage spaces are very limited. Like, for example, this glove box is huge, it's vast, but the little basic storage is right here. It's just very questionable. Like, for example, this storage space here, I do not have any idea what I can put in there because it is so shallow, so short, and also there's no protection over here to prevent something from falling out. So it leaves me to wonder, what exactly am I to store in there? I could store a pen maybe, yeah, like, yeah, why not? But for a telephone or something, I do not think I can even put it there because it's also shallow quite here. I can put my telephone right here maybe. Another questionable aspect I've also noticed is how in some Citroen models, I've seen how this opens, actually, for extra storage. But in the case of the Citroen C3 Aircross, they've made no use of this area for some reason. So this is the rear of the Citroen C3 Aircross, everyone. I have a lot of leg room, but for some reason my knee room is a bit, well, a bit limited, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. And also the softness of this rear bench is actually quite good. I like it. I feel like it's a bit on the firm side, but it's not a big deal. It should be fine. I have plenty of headroom. Check this out. This headroom is quite plenty, and it's actually... well, actually, it's quite expected for a crossover SUV, especially in the segment. Over here, you get the rear seat pockets, everyone. Quite nice. And you get some additional storage over here. And you get this micro pocket over here that doubles as a door handle to pull the door closed. This little storage area is not so deep, but can fit a small water bottle, I guess. So no air vent, no climate control, everyone. Okay. You get a nice coat hook, and you get a nice handle over here for when the ride gets bumpy. And your beacon of hope is right here. More rearwards. Interesting. Like, usually most brands put it right here, but in the case of this Citroen, they kept it right there. If there's any questionable aspect I've noticed is how the seatbelt is quite exposed. You get the edge of the seatbelt right here. So what happens is sometimes the rear passenger's feet will make contact with this, and this can annoy the front passenger and the driver. So yes, like usually most brands would not expose the seatbelt. They would hide it in the B pillar. But okay, it's just an acquired taste. You'll get used to it eventually. This is the boot space of the Citroen C3 Aircross. And I have to say, it's quite good. It's a bit on the short side, but it's quite expected for its segment. However, it does seem quite deep. It's quite nice. Yes, very good. And you get a nice beacon of hope light over there. You get some tether points right there, and I'm assuming right here as well. Good. I'm actually impressed.
So here's my conclusion about the Citroen C3 Aircross. I think the Citroen C3 Aircross from the beginning was a very promising debut. It's a very special car in its own ways, because most crossover SUVs put priority in different aspects. Some brands put priority in reliability. Some brands put priority in safety. Some brands put priority in good value for money or practicality. In the case of the Citroen C3 Aircross, it seems like they put a lot of priority in being stylish and probably fun to drive. As a Citroen enthusiast, I can confirm to all of you that this Citroen C3 Aircross has a lot of identity in it. It does remind me of certain models that came from the 80s and 90s, especially the rear and the front. The price of 23,000 euros. Is this Citroen C3 Aircross good value for money or not? You know what, guys? I think the Citroen C3 Aircross is good value for money. It's not the best, but it's just good. I think it's in the positive zone. And the reason I say this is because it's got the style, and there were also many things that did come, which was for its own price. Usually you don't get much options on a car of this price, 23,000 euros, especially let alone a segment like a crossover SUV, like heated front seats. That's something very rare to see in that price. But Citroen has been generous to give it, and also the styling, something unique, something appealing to drive, something appealing to look at. And also it's got the economic values, cheap to run, cheap to tax, nothing more I can ask for. You want my opinion of the Citroen C3 Aircross? I love the Citroen C3 Aircross, everyone. I really do. I think the Citroen C3 Aircross is one of the most promising crossover SUVs in today's market. And also the reason I say this is because it's at such a cheap price tag, you get quite a lot of equipment. Something very interesting to drive, something very interesting to look at, something not so questionable. Okay, yeah, the storage was maybe questionable, but it doesn't matter, everyone. It does not matter at all. You know, not all cars have to have the best in everything. Some cars are the best in one thing. And Citroen with the C3 Aircross are the best in terms of design, in terms of identity. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos that are on the run. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go city cruising.